Hey friends, so I'm back and today we're going to talk about the process of blending. Now, it's important well, before I start, I'm not so much going to tell you how to blend because like I said earlier, that looks differently everywhere, but this video is about more about the process of blending and what to expect from the process. And so there's kind of two big things I want to talk about. Um, and not to be discouraging or anything, but just to make you aware of these potential things that I didn't expect or plan for. So, one, know going in that this is going to be a marathon. It is going to be hard. Just make peace with it now. Whether you drink the Kool-Aid like I did, I mean, I was already kind of on this path, and my district was on this path, and we just kind of merged beautifully and synchronously, and it's been magic. Or if you are someone who's like, I have no idea what they're talking about, now they say I got to do this thing. Whoever you are, whether you have no clue or you wrote the book on it, know it's going to be hard. And there are a couple of reasons why it'll be hard. One, in some respects, you're changing the way school has been done. We haven't done anything necessarily earth-shattering, but it's been a philosophical mind shift in some respects. And so I have teachers who are seasoned veterans who could walk into a class blindfold, teach the way they've always taught, and get results. Now I'm telling them, hey, let's try it a different way. And hopefully it's going to work. Um, that's hard, really hard. In some respects, my veterans have felt like new teachers all over again because I moved their cheese and they can't do what they always did. And so that's something that I did not expect. I kind of thought it'd be just a natural transition. It was an easy one for me to make. I just kind of saw that logical leap and we just did it. But that's not been the case. So just be prepared for veteran teachers to feel like newbies again. And that presents itself with frustration, feeling overwhelmed, feeling stressed. And that's hard when, again, you've started September 15 times in your 15 years. And now all of a sudden, this is the hardest and longest September of your life. I mean, I felt like September had 800 days in it. It's been a long September. Be prepared for that. But remember the why. Push through it. Okay. Don't give up. Always bring them back to the why and be patient and gracious. These teachers are on the front lines. As administrators, we have visions for things, we create the plans, but they're the ones walking the walk. They're the ones carrying out the plans. And so keep a very, very close check on their pulse. And be prepared to give a lot of recognition and acknowledgement. I feel like I'm pretty decent at showing appreciation of my AP and my administrative team. We work really hard to plan morale boosters. Looking back, I know for certain 100% that I should have done a better job of acknowledging the work they put into it. So don't just assume, oh, we have this good relationship. They know I love them. They know I appreciate them. So we're good. They need to hear it and see it on a regular basis. Because if you haven't started, the time it takes to create the digital content, get it into a playlist, make original content, create data trackers, all that is time and energy that they weren't having to spend last year, okay? So it looks like they were here last year and now they're spending more time doing this stuff. So to make it smoother for them or to make it feel more meaningful or worthwhile, be sure you acknowledge their work and show your appreciation. I would do that. That's one thing I would do differently is make sure they feel appreciated because that's what sustains you when you're like running on empty. And so make sure they feel appreciated. Um, always, 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 always stick to your why. That's why that was the first thing I kind of talked about is know your why because in these hard times, that's what's going to motivate you. Because guys, there were times, I'm not going to lie, I'm thinking, what the heck am I doing? Um, this is hard stuff. And it's hard as a leader to see your teachers struggle or, you know, emotionally, it's just hard for a lot of reasons. And so um, it could have been, we could have very easily said, okay, forget it, scrap it. Let's just go back to what we were doing. Um, but it's that courage of conviction that really kept us moving forward and kept my staff moving forward. So when it's hard, always bring it back to the why and always show appreciation for your teachers any way you can, but especially verbally or in a written note. Um, those are two things, two things that I would improve on if I could go back. The other thing that kind of makes it hard is, you don't get more time to do this. And so if you are teaching new processes, you rob Peter to pay Paul with time. And sometimes that does impact instructional time. I mean, you've got these kids have never had experiences self-managing in the menu. May not have had experiences working on Edpuzzle or Flipgrid. And so there's a training component that goes into this. And inadvertently that can affect academic performance. I mean, if you're slow to get started or you're very meticulous getting started, you're taking some instructional time there. Now the difference between our first district assessment and then our benchmark has been huge because that first 6 weeks, we spent so much time getting things into place that it was rocky and it did impact our scores. But we're back up to where we were, and in some cases, even higher than where we were last year. And so just know that it can impact your scores. And if you talk to people like Ed Elements, my district didn't go into it blind. They know anytime you implement, you have that implementation dip. If you're going to tell your teachers expect an implementation dip, then as a principal, you need to be okay with an implementation dip and you need to defend your teachers through that dip. And you need to encourage your teachers through that dip. Because that can be soul crushing. Here you are as an admin, man, you have set your North Star. We're going to get results this way. Our kids are going to learn more, grow more. They take that first test and then they bomb the heck out of it. All the evidence would say, this isn't working. But we have to remind them and ourselves with change, that is to be expected. And you've got to make peace with that. You have to find a way. The third part that makes it hard, but is kind of the fun part, I think, is right now, if you're like me, you're thinking about next year. You're making plans for next year. So you're mapping out in your mind what you want blended learning to look like, how you want your teachers to work, how you want your students to work, and you're creating this super awesome plan. Your plan starts off as this really finely shaped triangle, looks beautiful. Know that by the time your plan rolls out, it might round out and become and look like a circle. Because you will have this idea in mind, one aspect of it's not going to work. So you're going to have to iterate and change that piece up. Love that word. First time I heard it was last summer. But you are constantly going to be tweaking the plan. Either your understanding is going to be growing and changing as it should, or the reality versus the ideal world collides, and we have to compromise the two. But as your teachers are working, they're going to have this idea because like they have the past 15 years on the exact same thing every single time and it's worked. Um, they're going to have to be okay knowing we're going to adapt as we go. As this aspect of, man, we rolled out menus way too fast. They didn't get it. We just assumed they could be autonomous beings in third grade. They can't. You got to train them. um, so we got to backpedal. How do we change the menu? How do we make it work for the kids? How do we make it more user friendly? Constantly evolving your ideas. And you got to celebrate that. It has to be the message, guys, y'all are doing so awesome, really growing this idea. It's going to be beautiful when we get there. Because they can get discouraged in constantly having to change things. I think that was another um, unexpected piece to last year or last semester. Um, our plans, we started with triangles and ended up with circles. And it took them, they never did. It took them a while to feel settled because it was constantly evolving until it became the circle that worked, that fit into the hole. And so that's hard um, to spend the first 6 weeks kind of constantly in a constant state of evolution and never feeling settled. It really wasn't until the end of October that were like, okay, we pretty much got this. Like the iterations we make now are tiny compared to overhauling an entire block of instruction. um, so just know that it may take time before your staff really settles into it. And that has to be okay. That's got to be your message. It's okay. We're going to get there. We're going to make it work. I'm here with you. So that's kind of what to expect from the process. It's always growing and evolving, and that's okay. You know your staff, so really pay attention to their cues. If you need to speed up, if you need to slow down, um, you don't want them, as my assistant Sue kind of talked to me about, you don't want them to get left behind when you're 15 miles ahead of them. You've really got to learn how to keep pace with them and always be encouraging. Always remember your why. So if you have any questions about those things, I'm happy, open as books. I'm happy to share with you how we work through those things. But I would say that right there those were things I wish I had known going in about the process. And I learned a lot about myself, about my staff, uh, about my leadership, changed some things about myself to accommodate that. So leave questions, comments. I'm happy to help any way I can. So have a great day.